Well, we're going to talk about this threat for severe weather, not only for the southeast, but right here in the Tennessee Valley for tomorrow. We're kind of right on the edge. I would recommend everyone stay weather alert tomorrow, especially late tomorrow afternoon. Starting to see some signals that the atmosphere could be a little bit more unstable than it was looking earlier, even earlier than this morning. Of course, that can go back the other way too. And I think really what the key player is going to be, where is this big line of storms going to be along the Gulf Coast? At what time is it going to clear the Gulf Coast? Because there could be an opportunity for severe weather around here. The way we see it now, I think the storms are going to be pretty strong, especially the ones moving out of Mississippi. So let's get to the setup. I've extended this a little bit to the farther to the north, just because I think there's going to be this area of instability that kind of makes its way all the way up to the north, and the trough of low pressure coming through is a little bit tilted as well negatively, so we'll have to watch that closely. So again, extending this up towards Memphis, Huntsville, this gold area, that's the area, I would just stay weather alert there. The higher threat of severe weather, including some tornadoes, is just a little bit farther to the southwest, but we know things can change rather quickly. Here's a quick look at the morning hours. Then I'm going to cover all of the southeast and then go into Texas for the severe weather threat that they'll see Friday. That should clear much of our area. There's another storm system coming in behind this one. That's going to have a bigger impact on the Gulf Coast. But tomorrow morning showers, even some elevated thunderstorms around here, so it may get a little noisy during the morning commute. Those will not be severe. And then what happens after the noon hour, after we kind of clear out? If we see some heavy rain that sets up, that would be good news. For us in North Alabama, it means the atmosphere won't be as unstable. But notice what's happening over here to the west into parts of northeastern Mississippi. This is one thing we're really going to have to watch. If anything, I think it might be under forecast right now based on the model guidance we're looking at here. This is 10 o'clock tomorrow night. This all becomes very heavy rain. And notice we may stay in the 60s. If we stay in the 60s, I think our threat for severe weather is going to be lower. But regardless, very heavy rain moving in as we go into the overnight hours. Some areas may pick up 2 inches of rain. This should clear the area as we get into Friday, at least by the middle of the morning. Now here's the setup all across the southeast. 2 yellow areas. This is where the Storm Prediction Center has the higher threat for severe weather. Notice immediately on the Gulf Coast. And one of those reasons is because you've got these complexes of storms rolling south of us, and that's a real key to our forecast, as I just mentioned. This is the noon hour tomorrow, or Thursday, whenever you're watching this. And you notice down there towards South Padre, an area there is going to peak as well, but we'll focus a little bit more about what's going to happen here in the bigger bullseye, so to speak. Big complexes of thunderstorms back to back. We'll talk about instability. Look at that nasty line of storms will move through, potentially doing damage there along the Gulf Coast, mainly in the form of damaging winds, but there's enough wind shear that there could be some embedded tornadoes there. So what we're going to watch here is how quick does this area of thunderstorms clear the Gulf Coast and allow that instability to ride to the north in towards north central Mississippi. So that's going to be a real key player. At the same time, we're going to have this area low pressure here by 7 o'clock tomorrow night. It's going to be in the vicinity here of Memphis, and that's what's going to enhance some new thunderstorm development. So we'll go through the Cape here in just a second and some of the other instability parameters as well. Notice this is 11 o'clock, no thunderstorms at this time on the Gulf Coast. Notice the bigger storms there moving through Florida as well. They'll have a round of strong and potentially severe thunderstorms, perhaps overnight into the morning hours Friday. So notice how we clear out as we get into Friday. Here is the instability. This is really the key player here, that and a little bit of wind shear for our threat of severe weather. Notice how high it is down here to the south along the Gulf Coast. Again, these are joules per kilogram. There's also a spike over here near South Padre. And we'll talk more about Texas for Friday because it's a lot more impressive there Friday afternoon. So around here, notice how the instability really drops with the morning rain and then a little bit of sunshine. So notice this area up here just around 4 o'clock in the afternoon from Memphis to Tupelo, this very narrow window. And it's still possible that area near Tuscaloosa that becomes rain-cooled may get sucked into the north as well. So it's not lockstep with a threat for a higher risk for severe weather for us. So I think that's one of the reasons the Storm Prediction Center just has us in the green, which is mainly a marginal, fairly low risk for severe weather. But if this changes, we'll definitely have to keep an eye on it. Notice as we get into Friday morning how we get this secondary surge here that's going to fuel these stronger storms right along the Gulf Coast towards Panama City. As far as the energy helicity index, this combines the wind shear, which is critical for tornadoes, of course, and even large hail, combines that with the instability. So this is Thursday morning again. We kind of reset here. As we go through time, this starts to drop in the morning hours, but I'm noticing that it does peak a little bit. Now the forecast guidance could be a little off here too, but it kind of spikes here in north central Mississippi. And the concern would be immediately in northern Mississippi for these storms to produce severe storm weather and track northeast. But as they track northeast, that shear goes away. So that's some good news there. So again, key thing here is to stay weather alert throughout the afternoon and evening hours tomorrow. And then as we get into Friday, 7 o'clock in the morning, bigger storms off the coast most likely. There is that threat for a marginal risk for severe weather in Florida, heavy rain over here in the Carolinas as well. But the primary risk as we get into Friday is going to be ahead of this next area low pressure. This is likely going to cause strong to severe storms across the immediate Gulf Coast as we go through the weekend as well. So if you're going down there, just be aware of that. So we start Friday morning pretty much with a clean slate. Look how warm it gets, 93 degrees. That's hot as you get west of Austin, Texas, and just southwest of Dallas and west of Dallas. Notice how the thunderstorms there around 4 o'clock in the afternoon really start to fire up. So all the storm chasers are going to be out here in Texas again. They've pretty much been out there all week, but some of them may slide to the east tomorrow to catch some of that strong thunder to severe thunderstorms for Thursday as well. But notice how we've got this distinct area here from Waco north of Austin Friday late afternoon into the evening hours. And this is probably going to, and this has happened several times with storms as they kind of flank to the west here along that boundary. So very heavy rain, may have some localized street flooding out here, and they haven't had a terrible issue with flooding out here. In fact, they're kind of semi-drought conditions, I believe, out here to the west. But as you get into Saturday morning, still some showers and storms, but notice the CAPE here, the convective available potential energy. It's fairly significant, about 2,000 to 3,000 joules. And this is 10:30 Friday morning. As we get into the afternoon, it really starts to blow up, and that's just going to feed these storms the possibility of large hail. There's some wind shear here, so there's going to be a tornado threat there. Wouldn't be surprised if this area gets upgraded to an enhanced risk Friday as well. But notice how everything just dies out late at night. Here's the energy helicity index. That kind of peaks around areas southwest of San Antonio, but notice how it blows up a bit with a little bit more wind shear as the disturbance starts to enhance that area. So anything that develops earlier in the day would be more likely to be a supercell type thunderstorm out here across to central Texas, and then eventually merging into a line of thunderstorms. So again, that's kind of a look at the next 2 days. We're watching the threat for severe weather here in North Alabama. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel because I share everything here first before I turn it over to Facebook. Thank you for watching.